Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Victor. In this video, I'm going to show you how to quickly set up Visual Studio Code to write, compile, and to run C or C++ code. Let's begin. These days, I'm teaching a course on Introduction to Programming where we use the language C and later on C++. Many of my students at the end of this first lecture ask, what IDE would I recommend them to begin with when learning to write their code? The truth is, there are many options out there and I don't really have a favorite yet. However, I do have a few selection criteria. First, it should be simple to install and use. Second, it should be cross-platform, meaning that it works on multiple operating systems like Windows, macOS, and Linux. Third, it should be free and open source. One IDE I do suggest to my student is Visual Studio Code made by Microsoft, as it is cross-platform and free and open source. The setup, however, is a little bit tricky, and that is why I'm creating this video to quickly show you how to set it up so that you can start programming in C or C++ right away. The first thing you want to do is to go to their official website, code.visualstudio.com, and download the software onto your computer. Now, depending on your operating system, you might see something slightly different. For example, Windows, macOS, or Linux. Since I'm using a Windows machine here, it automatically detects my Windows machine and shows me the proper option. When I click the download button, it will probably take me to another page called Docs, and it's going to show me some information for how to get started with the software. I've already downloaded the software, so I'm not going to go through them again. And if you are downloading it, you can wait for it to finish. In the meantime, you can take a look at the overview of this program, say what it's for, what does that do. I think the more important thing is after you go through the overview, you are going to take a look at the user guide to learn the basic editing. And later on, go to languages to take specifically a look at C++. It doesn't really matter whether we want to write in C or C++ in this context, so this will be sufficient. We'll come back to this page later on to see what is in this page so that we can walk through the steps with you one by one. Now, by this time, hopefully your Visual Studio Code installation software or executable has been downloaded. You can double click it and you can start running it to have it install the software for you. After it's installed, you will be seeing something like this. It might also ask you to set up some environmental stuff like how do you like the themes to look like and whatnot. Now, let me just maximize it a little bit. Now, this is where we begin our writing of the code. The first thing we want to do is we are going to select a directory or folder so that we can put all of our code into that directory. To the Visual Code, you are creating a workspace. So we can choose to open a folder, and we're going to choose a location on a computer to do that. I'm going to choose Documents and Coding and C Programming in Visual Studio Code. You can create any folders you want that makes sense to you. For this particular project or this video, I'm going to create a project called Hello World. So I'm going to name it Hello World. I'm going to select this folder. Now you will see a little flash of the screen. Then Visual Code is going to set up a few things over here so that it knows where to find your code. Now this folder is still empty because we haven't started making anything yet. So let's create our very first source code file in C. Over here, you have a few options. You can choose file new. You can also choose new file here, but we are going to use the shortcut over here at Explorer. So we can click this Explore little button to expand it. And we're going to click this little button that looks like a file with a plus sign. It's going to ask, what is the name of your new file? Let's call it Hello World again. Hello World. You can choose any file name you want, as long as it's a proper valid file name. But the important thing is that you want to end it with the extension .c. This indicates that this source code file is a source code file and it is written in the language C. We'll press enter and we see something showing up here. So we are editing this file right now in the program. So let's begin with the very simple Hello World program. We start with include. We start with standard io.h, and we're going to create a main function. So it's going to int main function, and then we're going to create write the print function over here. So print f for format the print, and I'm going to write a very simple sentence, hello world, and a new line character over here. After that, so we return a value to indicate that this function has end or has finished correctly. Now you will notice that when I type these things, it does change the color a little bit, right? Include change into purple, in change into blue, which is good. It recognizes this. These are kind of keywords, but this is what this page is telling us to do next. The first thing it's telling us to do is to install what we call the extension. Now, Visual Studio Code by itself is like a toolbox. It can support all kinds of programming languages. But when you download it, it does not support C or C++ right out of the box. So what you want to do is we want to install that extension. So to do that, we are going to, let's save the file by Ctrl+S, and we're going to go to this extension tab. So we're going to look for something that is suggested over here from this website. So we look for C++. So C++. It's going to look for that, and it's going to find that thing that we have over here. So we click on that, you expand a little bit, you will see the icon over here, and we're going to install this guy. So click install. If you take a closer look at the description of this extension, you will see that it says C, C++, IntelliSense, debugging, and code browsing. What it is actually missing is the compiler that we need to convert our code into an executable. But we can come back to this one a little bit later on. So once we have it installed, we can close this guy. We can go back to our Explore page. And then you will see that now if I click on these guys, hopefully it will show us something. You see that there's a little pop-up telling us, oh, this is how you can use printf. That's what IntelliSense is doing for us, this extension. Now, the next thing we want to take a look at is what is the next step. So what it says is you're going to install a compiler. It turns out that Visual Studio Code does not come with a compiler by default. If you take a closer look at the last paragraph, it says some platforms such as Linux or Mac OS have a C++ compiler already installed. Now, since I'm using Windows, by default, I do not have that. So that's why I need to install a compiler. To quickly check whether you already have a compiler installed, maybe you're using a computer that someone have used before, they install that for you, then you can quickly check whether you have a compiler installed in your machine. In your available for your Visual Code. So what you can do is you come back to here, you click Terminal, create new terminal, and then a new little screen pops up at the bottom. You type gcc --version, press enter. Now, if you see some red thing saying that this is not recognized, GCC is not recognized, it means that it's not being installed. However, if you see something like this that I'm showing you here, it means that it has been installed. So we can switch back over here to see, in case you haven't have that installed, what you're going to do next. Now, you're going to follow the steps over here to install a very particular kind of GCC compiler called MinGW x64. On this page, it links you to the website MSYS2 website. So this is what we see over here. And all you need to do is to follow the instructions by downloading the installer, double-clicking it, install the things. Try not to change this unless you're absolutely certain what you're doing. So once you're done, you're going to stop at step number 5. You'll see this little screen pop up, and you switch over back to here, and then you use this command to finish the rest. pacman-s and the following. Afterwards, you're going to set up a path environmental variable for Windows. What it really means is that by default, if you type a command anywhere in your Windows computer, it doesn't really know where to find the definition of that command. So what you need to do is to tell Windows, okay, if someone types a certain command, try at least to go to this folder and look for that. That's what path environmental variable is for. So over here, you can follow instructions to set it up, and I already have set it up, so I'm not going to show you how it's done, but it's quite straightforward. Now, once you have this set up, so you're going to check your installation again. So we're going to switch back over here. What you need to do is before you do anything else, you're going to close your entire Visual Studio Code so that it can pick up that path variable again. If not, you will see the same red warnings if you have just installed MinGW 64. So this is what you're going to see over here. If you type GCC version, then you will see no red characters or words over here. So this is great. The next thing is we are going to actually compile our code. In Visual Code, what we need to do is to perform this thing called to build the software or build the program. Right? So the instruction says we're going to use terminal run build task command. We're going to do just that. So I'm going to close the terminal for now. See more things. And we're going to go to terminal, go to run build task. You click that, it's going to pop up something for us to select. Sometimes you will see more than one options. But since we have just installed MSys64, we're going to use that thing that comes with that installation. We're going to click this guy. Right. So you see the terminal suddenly pops back up. That's fine. And you will see that it's starting to build, and then the build is successfully finished. If it says something that is not correct or is not built correctly, then chances are you have written something wrong syntax-wise or something. Right. So here is a very simple program, so should be good. Next, we can close it by pressing any key over here. So we press key, and then we go back to something that we've seen before. Now, if you take a look at the Explorer on the left-hand side, you will see that there's one new file being created over here. Right? You can't really see it, but it doesn't really matter. This is the executable file that is being converted from your source code by the compiler into something that can be run as a program in your computer. So how do we run this program or test run it? The next thing we're going to do is we go to this little section, and we're going to type the following command. What this command do is basically look at the current directory and run this executable file. So let's do that. I'm going to type dot, means current directory, slash, and then I'm going to type the name of the executable. So which is hello world. So make sure that you have typed correctly with all the uppercase and lowercase. You don't need to type the .exe, but if you want to, you can still do that. So if I press enter over here, you'll see the word hello world over here popping up. That's exactly what we want to do, right? Now let's say if I want to change something else. I want to add something like, say I want to add another line, say great to see you here, right? So what I need to do is I need to save a file, obviously, because there are some new changes going on. Save it. I'm going to close this tab. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to close this little pop-up because we already have the extension that we need. Go back here, run build task. If you remember that, the shortcut, you can also type Control-Shift-B. Right, so we do that again. We choose this same thing again. You see that it's going to build it over again. Go press any button to close it, and then we're going to repeat the same thing. You see that now I have one extra line. This is what I just added into my code, right? So this is how you use Visual Studio to write your source code and also compile your source code and run your source code, right? So I hope this helps you to get started with writing your C. Later on, C++ is exactly the same thing. And since you install the extension for C and C++, everything will keep working. So that's great. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. Hope to see you soon again. Bye.